All right, everybody, welcome into the Double R React show. In this video, we are going to be reacting to what everybody's been talking about in the NFL. Who is the NFL MVP at this current moment? We're going to be reacting to Stephen A. Smith, reaction to who his MVP is, and Shannon Sharpe. And I'll give my reaction to that as well. So let's go ahead and get right into it. So right now, ESPN odds makers have Josh Allen as the current favorite. And then they have Lamar Jackson second. Now, Josh Allen is coming off of a game against the best team in the league. He beat the best team in the league, 23 of 34, 362 yards, 2 passing touchdowns, 2 rushing touchdowns. He probably would have had a third passing touchdown if they didn't call it back for a holding call. So before we get into my thoughts on who the MVP is, let's go ahead and listen to Shannon Sharpe and Stephen A. Smith first, and I'll go ahead and get into it from there.
Shay, did Allen win MVP yesterday?
I don't think he did because, like I said, Lamar Jackson, you look at Lamar Jackson's numbers, they're just phenomenal. I mean, everybody's talking about Joe Burrow, and I understand Joe's having a phenomenal season.
Yeah.
But Lamar Jackson with 3 interceptions and 34 passing touchdowns with another 3 rushing touchdowns, and we see the perfect quarterback rating. We see the 5 touchdown passes, 0. The man had more touchdown passes, Stephen A., than incompletions. And we've seen him have those type games multiple times this year. Do I think Josh Allen, and rightfully so, I do think Josh Allen is in the lead, but Lamar Jackson, he could end the season with 40 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. Now, if Josh has a game where he slips up, throws multiple interceptions, they lose the game, could Lamar catch him? I still believe he could.
Count him out. I'm going with Josh Allen. I don't want to hear that.
Okay, of course you are.
First of all, Josh Allen has as many touchdowns. He's got 37 touchdowns as well, you know, along with Lamar Jackson and Joe Burrow. That's number one. Number 2, ranks third among quarterbacks total yards of offense behind Lamar Jackson and Joe Burrow. Last 3 years, 2020 to 2023, Josh Allen led the league. I think he led everybody, rather, in turnovers. Had 75 turnovers, 14 more than anyone else. This year, just 7 turnovers in 14 games. All right, so he's protecting the football. They've got a better record. They're winning more games. Lamar Jackson has 2 losses against 2 last-place teams. Okay, he's got 4 losses on the season. They're not even in first place in their own division. I think that when you look at it, I mean, we can have I'm open to having this discussion if Baltimore comes back and wins the AFC North. But to me, I don't see that happening. And I look at Buffalo, the way that they're rolling right now. And you got listen, I just look at it. Josh Allen, to me, he's got the lead comfortably at this moment.
And if you look at what
I mean, okay. All right, let's get right into it. So you heard Stephen A. Smith and you heard Shannon Sharpe's opinion on who their MVP is. The question was asked, did Josh Allen lock up the MVP race? And Shannon Sharpe said no. And Stephen A. Smith said it's damn near Josh Allen's the win is wrapped up. Here's my opinion. Lamar Jackson is coming off of a 5-touchdown game against the New York Giants. Josh Allen is coming off of a 4-touchdown total touchdown game against the best team in the league. So let's look at the numbers right here. Total touchdowns. I'm going to break it down even further, but let's just look at the graphic that we have here. Josh, and this is by CBS Sports, by the way. Thank you. Total yards. Lamar Jackson has 4,300 total yards. Josh Allen has 3,800 total yards, right? Okay. They're both tied in total touchdowns. And to my knowledge, Josh Allen has 25 passing touchdowns and 25 passing touchdowns and 11 rushing touchdowns. So unless I'm assuming he got that receiving touchdown, right? Against the Rams, right? He got a receiving touchdown, if I'm not mistaken. So he has 37 total touchdowns, which is very, very rare. You see a quarterback with a receiving touchdown. Josh Allen has thrown more interceptions than Lamar Jackson, 5-3. Lamar Jackson has a better completion percentage, 68% to 64%. Lamar Jackson has a better passer rating at 120.7 to Josh's 103.5. Josh Allen has the better record at 11-3 and 9-5. And you can see the odds makers have Josh Allen over Lamar Jackson. Let's go ahead and make a case for Lamar Jackson why he is the MVP. All right, so we talked about the better passer rating. Lamar Jackson is the only quarterback this year to have 3 games with a passer rating of 154 or higher. He had a perfect passer rating against against the Bucks? No, it was against the Denver Broncos. And he had a passer rating of 154. Yesterday's game against the Giants, almost a perfect quarterback rating. So we're talking about a man who, coming out of college, many thought he was not even a pocket passer. He was just an athlete that could run the ball. This man has had 3 games this year where he's almost had a perfect quarterback rating, one of which he's had a perfect quarterback rating against the Bucks, the Broncos, and the Giants. He's also had 3 games with a passer rating of 130 or higher. Mind you, all this is being said when Lamar Jackson is not considered a passer in the eyes of some people, not all people. The real ones know what Lamar Jackson is capable of doing in the pocket, outside the pocket. There was a narrative about Lamar Jackson not being able to come from behind when he's losing games. That narrative has been washed out the window 2 years ago. Lamar Jackson, and I'll get into those games in a second. So 3 games with a passer rating of 130 or higher against the Bengals and against the Bills, Josh Allen, and against the Cowboys. He's had 2 5-touchdown passing games, one yesterday and one on Monday Night Football against Tampa Bay. He's had 2 4-touchdown games. Both of those came against the Bengals. He only has 3 interceptions, 4 lost fumbles. He had 1 yesterday. And so he's had 7 total turnovers. But as a passer, he's only had 3 interceptions. And ironically, the turnovers come when he as a runner most of the time, as a runner or in the pocket. You know what I'm saying? So it's not like Lamar Jackson is out there making bad reads. He has 37 total touchdowns, 34 passing touchdowns, and he's 2 off of his career high in the first MVP season that he had in 2019, which a lot of people thought that season wouldn't be duplicated. Well, Lamar Jackson's having a better season than his first MVP, let alone the one he did last year. He's already blown those numbers out the window. The first MVP season, he's already having a better season right now than the first MVP season, and we still got 3 games to go. He's on pace. Well, let me keep on track here. He's already beaten the Buffalo Bills, so he's already beaten the competition that we're talking about in Josh Allen. And in that game, he threw 2 touchdowns. Now, granted, he was only 13 of 18 for 156 yards. He did those 2 touchdown passes, but he had a passer rating of 135.4 in that game. So against the competition, you beat them badly, and you had a 135 quarterback rating in that game. All right. And one could argue that the Ravens have played a tougher schedule. Now, I'll get into Josh Allen in a second, because the last few games that Josh Allen has played, he has played against top competition. All right. So I'm not going to poo-poo that, but he's played Kansas City. He played Dallas when we thought early in the year, when we thought Dallas was somewhat good, on the road, by the way. Beat Buffalo, beat Cincinnati. Say whatever you want about Cincinnati's defense. Cincinnati's offense gave the Ravens a run in those 2 games where the Ravens were losing both of those games, where Lamar Jackson came back. He's the reason that they won that game. I know Derrick Henry got the run at the end of the game, but Lamar Jackson is the reason why that comeback even happened against Cincinnati. So say what you want about Cincinnati. They're a good football team. The Commanders, Tampa Bay looks good. That prolific offense, Tampa Bay looks good. Denver looks good. They beat Denver 41-10, and that's the game he had the perfect quarterback rating. The Los Angeles Chargers, solid team. They lost to Philly. So you can argue that the Ravens have actually played a tougher schedule overall, and he's been producing these kind of numbers. He's really only had 1 bad game, 2 bad games, really, because I don't consider the Kansas City Chiefs a bad game. He had a 90 QBR, a 90 passer rating and a 64 QBR in that game. But he rushed for 122 yards, and he gave you 273 yards passing. So the game they gave you almost 400 yards of total offense. So the really only bad games he's had is the Steelers game and the Raiders game. And I don't even count the Raiders game, because the interception that he threw in that game was a tip ball. Now Stephen A made the point that 2 of the losses came against last place teams. And yeah, that does not look good on your resume. But what you fail to realize is the Ravens will have more losses on their record if it wasn't for Lamar Jackson's heroics and what I mentioned earlier against the Bengals. The Bengals were up big. That's the game at M&T Bank Stadium. They were down 21-7 in the third quarter. Lamar Jackson comes back and wins that game. Not only that, he threw 4 touchdown passes, had a 141 quarterback rating and a 141 passer rating and an 86 QBR. Mind you, the 86 QBR is top 5 this season. And in the first Bengals game, they were down by 10 in the fourth quarter. Lamar Jackson came back, 4 touchdown passes, a 119.9 passer rating, and a 68 QBR. Mind you, they were losing both those games. So Lamar Jackson is the reason why they won those games while they were losing. So yeah, you can make an argument that he lost against last place teams, but the Ravens have a worse record if it wasn't for those the comeback against the Bengals. I mean, that's really the only 2 games you can really make an argument that the Ravens really should have lost. The other games, the Raiders game is inexcusable, yes. But Josh Allen has an inexcusable game against the Ravens because Josh Allen, and we'll get to that, Josh Allen didn't play his best ball against this same football team. So everybody in this race has had a what you would say an off game. Well, they're all human here. Lamar Jackson had an off game against Pittsburgh. He had an off game against the Raiders. Outside of that, Lamar Jackson, even in the Browns game, Lamar Jackson wasn't even bad in the Browns game. So, you can make it like everybody's gonna have a bad game. Anyway, let's move on here. Lamar Jackson, like I said, he's having a better year than his first MVP season. He's had one 100-yard rushing game. That was the first game of the season. Now, if you want to talk about Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson as a runner, Lamar Jackson's averaging 6.3 yards per rush. He has more rushing yards than Josh Allen, 743. So, yeah, he has more rushing attempts, but he has more yards and a higher yards per attempt. All right. He also has 4,300 total yards, as I mentioned earlier, on pace for a 5,000 total yard season. He's second in QBR behind Josh Allen. He's thrown less passing attempts with 404 passing attempts. However, he has a higher yards per attempt at 8.9. They both have the same amount of completions, and you'll see that in a second. A higher completion percentage. So all the major categories as a passer, right? That Lamar Jackson, as a quarterback, Lamar Jackson is leading in those categories. He's leading in passing yards. He has more passing yards than Josh Allen. He has more passing touchdowns than Josh Allen. As a passer, he's thrown less interceptions than Josh Allen. A higher completion percentage, higher passer rating than Josh Allen. He even has more rushing yards than Josh Allen. Only thing, Josh Allen is a runner. He has more rushing touchdowns than Lamar Jackson. But outside of that, Lamar Jackson is leading. And I remember this last year. Everybody kept saying Josh Allen is the MVP. Josh Allen is the MVP. He has better numbers. And I made the point last year. Lamar Jackson has a better record. And honestly, the Ravens were beating teams pretty badly last year. Go back and look at the games. Lamar Jackson didn't even have to play a full fourth quarter. Like, he was in the fourth quarter, but because they had the lead, they didn't need to throw the ball a lot. So Lamar Jackson was damn near playing 3 quarters of football. So he still produced the numbers that he did. Whereas Josh Allen, a lot of these games that they're playing, some of these games have been blowouts, but Josh Allen has had to play in the fourth quarter, including the last 2 games. Anyway, that's my point for Lamar Jackson. Let's get into Josh Allen, and this is not a bash, because I love Josh Allen actually. It's just when it comes to the MVP debate, you got to point out what it is. Josh Allen had, which as a quarterback, right? Because everybody always like Lamar Jackson can't throw this, and this. We're talking about as a passer, right? Okay, so here we go. Josh Allen, he's had no game of 150 or higher passer rating. He's had only 1 game of a passer rating of 140 or higher, and that was against the 49ers. He's had 1 4-touchdown passing game. Lamar Jackson's had 2 5-touchdown passing games and 2 4-touchdown passing games. He's had 2 3-touchdown passing games against the Rams and the Dolphins. This is amazing. Josh Allen has had 6 total touchdown game, and that was against the Rams. 3 passing touchdowns, 3 rushing touchdowns. He even had that receiving touchdown, right? And okay, so he's had 3 games where he's had 2 rushing touchdowns or more. Yesterday's game against the Lions, the week before that against the Rams, and then the Cardinals in the first week of the season. So Lamar Jackson has not had a game where he's rushed for 2 touchdowns. But mind you, we're talking about the quarterback, right? The argument last year was like Lamar Jackson throws the ball, right? We don't want to factor his running numbers because he's a quarterback, right? So just want to keep that in there. Lamar Jackson can do it all, just like Josh Allen. They're both dual threats. But the only thing Josh Allen has over Lamar Jackson in the rushing category is rushing touchdowns. But Lamar Jackson doesn't need to run the ball in the goal line. You have Derrick Henry for that. So you don't need Lamar Jackson having all these rushing touchdowns because Derrick Henry does all that. Okay, so let's keep that in mind. All right, so he has 11 rushing touchdowns on the year, which is very impressive. I mean, he's up there with Derrick Henry, Saquon Barkley as a quarterback. I don't know how many rushing touchdowns that Jalen Hurts has, but I know as a quarterback, that's definitely gotta be top 1 or 2 in quarterback rushing touchdowns. He has 25 passing touchdowns. All right, so as a passer, Lamar Jackson has more passing touchdowns. Now, obviously, they're equal in terms of total touchdowns. Now, if you want to count the receiving touchdown, I mean, Lamar technically has more total touchdowns. I mean, if you're counting Josh Allen as a receiver, Josh Allen has 36 touchdowns, 25 passing, and 11 rushing. Josh Allen has fewer turnovers. He has 5 interceptions. He has 1 fumble, but he didn't lose the fumble. So he had 5 total turnovers to Lamar Jackson's 7. But as a passer, Lamar has 3 interceptions to 5. But Lamar had more fumbles. He has no 100 rushing yard games, which is fine. He's had a lot of good rushing yards. He's had 68 against the Lions. He's had 82 against the Rams. He's tinkered with it the last couple weeks. 55 against KC. And he had 50 against Indianapolis. So, he doesn't have a 100. Lamar only has 1 each too. So it's not like a big deal. Josh Allen's averaging 5.3 yards per rush. Like I said, Lamar's averaging 6.3. Josh Allen is the number 1 in quarterback rating. So the entire package, rushing, passing, rushing touchdowns, passing touchdowns, Josh Allen is in the lead by a few points here. Let's not poo-poo that. Lamar Jackson's as great as a season as Lamar is having, Josh Allen is 3 points ahead of him in QBR. Josh Allen is doing the damn thing, and he's a dual threat. 427 passing attempts. Josh has thrown the ball more, which is why Lamar's passing numbers are impressive because he's thrown the ball less than Josh, but he's produced better passing numbers than Josh. I think that's the point here, is like, as a quarterback, especially considering Lamar was not known as a passer in the eyes of some, that he's thrown less, he's been more productive with his throws in terms of like yards per attempt, completion percentage. Now here's the big one. Josh Allen is 11-3. And not only that, you beat a good Lions team. A very good Lions team. Say what you want about KC. You beat them. It was a home win, but you beat them. You beat KC. You gave them their first loss. Like, here's where we start getting into resume now in terms of who have you beat. Because this is the same argument I was making last year for Lamar. He beat the 49ers last year. He beat the Dolphins, who were good last year. He beat the Chargers last year. Lamar had a better resume against top-tier teams, division leaders. Well, Josh Allen this year is doing just that. He lost to the Rams, but barely lost to the Rams. We had that legendary game. But he beat the Rams. He beat the Lions. He beat San Francisco. San Francisco, you can count that. Like, you can't really, I don't know if you can count it as a quality win. The 49ers were on the road in Buffalo. It's tough to play in Buffalo. They were down. They were injured a lot. You spanked them though. So I don't know if you count it as a quality win. But you manhandled them. So you get points for that. You beat KC. Outside of that, what else are we talking about here as far as the resume in terms of teams he beat? So this is more recency bias than anything. on top of the fact that Lamar Jackson was coming off of a bye week. So Lamar Jackson really didn't have a chance like in the last 2 weeks because one of the weeks was a bye week. That Philly game, Lamar Jackson didn't have his best stuff. That was Lamar, to my opinion, that was Lamar Jackson's worst game, was the Philly game. He overthrew, he underthrew, but even still, he put his team in position to win. Justin Tucker missed field goals. But outside of that, I mean, where's the quality wins at here? You lost to Baltimore, right? So you lost against your competition. The following week, you lost to Houston, right? Then you made the trade for Amari Cooper. But what other quality win do you have here? You played the Jets. You played Tennessee. All these teams are bottom feeders. You beat Seattle. That's a solid win. You beat Miami. Miami is whatever. Miami's like whatever. Indianapolis, whatever. And so really what we're talking about here is recency bias. You beat the Rams. You were competitive. I mean, you beat the Lions. You were competitive in the Rams game. You beat KC. The San Francisco win is whatever in terms of like they're a good football team, well coached, but they were injured. So the losses that you have were against top AFC teams in Baltimore, your competition as far as Lamar Jackson is concerned, Houston. You lost to the Rams. You beat KC, who beat the Ravens. So it's like, where do you slot? And then Lamar Jackson, you beat Buffalo, which is your competition. You beat Cincinnati twice. Say whatever you want about the defense. Cincinnati's offense is prolific, and you had to come back in those games to win that. So you got quality wins against Buffalo. You got quality wins against Cincinnati twice. You beat the Commanders, who at that time, I still think the Commanders were a solid team, who are really good. They only had one loss at the time when they played the Ravens. I think they were like 5-1, something like that. The Commanders. So you got a quality win on Monday Night Football against Tampa Bay, even though Godwin got hurt, but Godwin got hurt at the very end of the game. Mike Evans, so that's a quality win. You got a quality win against Denver, who's a top 10 team in my book in terms of power rankings. They're a top 10 team. You manhandled them. You beat the Chargers on the road in the Harbaugh Bowl. That's a quality win. The Philly game and the Steelers game, the Steelers game, you didn't get spanked. The Philly Eagles game, that score was not indicative of how that game went. The Philly beat them. I mean, the game was close in the fourth quarter, 14-12, but Philly really shut down the offense. That's what I would say really, really hurt Lamar Jackson was the Philly game. Even though he threw 2 touchdown passes, one of them came at the very end of the game. Lamar Jackson really was shut down in that game. Even though the QBR, the passer rating doesn't reflect a really bad game. He didn't have his best stuff. So I think Lamar Jackson, you can make a point. Lamar Jackson has a better quality wins. Like I'm saying, you barely lost to KC. Isaiah Likely's toe was on the gray, and that was all it took to prevent either a tie of the game or potentially winning the game with a 2-point conversion. So Buffalo beat KC, who Baltimore lost to, but then Baltimore beat Buffalo. So and then like I said, the Cincinnati wins. You can say whatever you want. They have a prolific offense. Cincinnati put up 38 points and they put up 34 points. So they gave it was a competitive game, and they had to come back in both games. Chargers game, the Denver game, Tampa Bay, Washington, the Cowboys game. Call it what you want now, but at the time, week 3, Ravens were 0-2. Cowboys at that time were still a factor. Even though they got blown up by the Saints, the Cowboys were still a relevant team, a team that went to the playoffs last year. That was a quality win at that time. So you can make an argument that's a quality win as well. So when you really look at it, when Stephen A. Smith is making the point that Josh Allen is already locked up this MVP race, I'm trying to figure out, outside of the last couple of weeks, he made the game-winning play against KC. Can't knock that. That's a game changer type play. Only game changers do shit like that. You know what I'm saying? Like a game manager don't make plays like that. So you got to give him credit for that. You got to give him credit for the Lions game. He went off in that game. You have to give him that. That's on your resume. You know what I'm saying? That's a quality win. But then I look at Lamar Jackson with a perfect passer rating against the Denver Broncos. I mean, literally wiped the floor with the Broncos. Perfect passer rating. You came back and beat the Bengals. Like, these are quality wins as well. You know what I'm saying? You beat Buffalo. You know what I'm saying? So, like, you beat the Chargers. Like, you know, like, so both quarterbacks have quality wins. You know what I'm saying? And Stephen A makes the point, if they win the AFC North, I think even as of right now, the only argument you got right now for Josh is that he has more wins overall. He has a few wins that are higher quality than what Lamar has. But if you're talking about MVP numbers in terms of like the passing numbers and the rushing numbers, Lamar Jackson is winning every category except rushing touchdowns. So I don't understand the argument of Josh Allen has this wrapped up already. Like, at least Shannon Sharpe is like, no, this is still a race. Like, I don't see how you're saying Josh Allen has locked this up already. I just don't see where you're saying Josh Allen has locked this up. I don't get it. Especially when the passing numbers all indicate Lamar's been better and he has more rushing yards in a year where he really doesn't even have to rush as much because you got Derrick Henry. He still has more rushing yards. So, and better yards per attempt. So you guys let me know in the comments what you think. I gave you my point, but that's my argument for why Lamar Jackson is the MVP as of right now. Things can change, but as of right now, at the end of week 14, Lamar Jackson is the MVP, in my personal opinion. Now he goes out there and wet the bed against the Steelers, and Josh Allen goes out there and does what he needs to do. Then we're talking about maybe. But right now, who do the Bills play next? They got a weak schedule, right? They play the Patriots twice and the Jets. So, you know, Josh Allen could go out there and dominate both these teams. Both these teams that he has to play at the remainder of the season are not good. So he could go out there and really solidify his case, but that doesn't improve his resume. Now, if Lamar Jackson goes out there and beats Pittsburgh, beats Houston, and finishes the season against Cleveland, all with W's, which is very possible, by the way, I think they can beat the Steelers. I think they can beat Houston with no Stephon Diggs. In the Browns game, the Browns have nothing to play for at that point. So it's very plausible that both quarterbacks could win the remainder of their games, which means Josh Allen will have 14 wins, Lamar Jackson will have 12. And depending on what the numbers look like, and as long as Lamar Jackson don't go out there and throw 3 interception game, 4 interception game, and he's producing 2 touchdowns each of the games at least with a decent amount of yards, I think this is Lamar Jackson's to lose, honestly. And I haven't been hearing this argument a lot, but people are saying Josh. I'm like, no, I think Lamar Jackson's the front runner. And you can make, and people are saying, well, Lamar Jackson threw 5 touchdowns against the Giants. What other quarterback threw 5 touchdowns against the Giants? Now, granted, I don't know off the top of my head. Let's look at it real quick. First game of the season, Darnold threw 2 touchdown passes. Second game of the season, Jaden Daniels didn't throw any touchdown passes. This is against the Giants defense, all right? Just mind you. Against the Browns, Watson threw 2 touchdown passes. All right, Cowboys, Prescott threw 2 touchdown passes. Seahawks, Geno Smith threw 1 touchdown pass. The Bengals, Joe Burrow didn't throw a touchdown pass in that Bengals game. Lamar Jackson threw 4 touchdown passes. You know what I'm saying? Against the Bengals, and threw 5 against the Giants. Eagles game, Jalen Hurts threw 1 touchdown pass. Steelers game, Russell Wilson 1 touchdown pass. The Commanders again, Jaden Daniels 2 touchdown passes. Panthers, Bryce Young 1 touchdown pass. Tampa Bay, Baker Mayfield, who's having a great season, by the way, no touchdown passes. Against the Cowboys, Cooper Rush 1 touchdown pass. Against the Saints, Derek Carr 1 touchdown pass. Against the Ravens, Lamar Jackson 5 touchdown passes. So none of these quarterbacks that the Giants have played threw even over 2 touchdown passes. I just went through everybody that played the Giants defense this year. No one has thrown 3 touchdown passes this year. Lamar Jackson has thrown 5. So yeah, while the Giants as a whole offensively may be trash, their defense is middle of the pack, and their defense has been okay. And they have not given up 5 touchdowns to any quarterback this season. So while you may poo-poo Lamar Jackson against the Giants, it's just the Giants. No other quarterback has done that. So when you're looking at the resume of that, you have to factor that in. You have to factor that in. Yeah, we already knew the Ravens were going to blow out the Giants. We already knew that because the Giants don't have an offense. But what other quarterback has literally sat out there and fling the football like that? 21 of 25. Like you said, had more touchdowns than incompletions. Almost had another perfect QB quarterback rating, passer rating. So no one has done that. So let's not poo-poo the 5 TD performance like it's just the Giants. Like he hasn't done that already against other teams. He's done it before, and he's done 4 touchdowns twice. That's my argument. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section. I think this is much closer than what people are giving it credit for. This is the Double R Podcast. This is your boy Retro Recap, and I'm out.